If you just listen to this Logic file, it absolutely in no way replicates what happens live. With the Boston show this year, Boom, a lot of sound design elements just leap off the page. I mean, from an onomatopoeia standpoint, Boom.
Performing their 2025 program, Boom. Drum Corps International is proud to present the Boston Crusaders.
The show being explosive. Boom being the genesis of an idea, like, something hits you and there's energy there, lightning in a bottle immediately. That type of energy was first and foremost in the design process. So you do hear a lot of low-end booms and rumbles and delays. The next element of the sound design that we kind of thought about as we're conceptualizing things is a passing or a measuring of time and space. And throughout the show, you hear that in a lot of different ways. First being right off the bat, we have a pre-show that involves ticking. The ticking utilizes the immersive set of speakers, kind of goes around the world. Underneath that, there's like a bed of sound that's always there. But then I have like textural samples that also go around the world, just at a different rate of the ticking. For me, in my mind, that's just always kind of like the elasticity of time and having a consistent. But within the consistent, there's elements of time that are on different dimensions. You hear that within the opener at a lot of different spots. In the middle of the opener, there's a percussion feature. We call it the boom boom feature. From an onomatopoeia standpoint, it has lots of booms. There's literally a voice actor saying boom. But you hear the ticking, and the ticking is altered through space designers and adjusting in real time the amount of like actual reverb effects that are on it. So the ticking kind of comes in and out of presence, but it's actually always there. Another device to measure time is a heartbeat. Our time on this earth is dictated by the passing of a heartbeat. So you're going to hear a lot of heartbeats at the end of the opener. Going into the company front, you hear boom, 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 boom. Underneath it, there's this breathy, delayed sample that kind of comes underneath it. That heartbeat and that breath is just like life to me, and I think really kind of brings in the core in a lot of ways. So you hear that heartbeat or that boom, boom, depending upon how you want to think about it. The next element we use is actual elements of counting. The ballad is all about a reflection upon the past. The second movement of the show takes you out of kind of the futuristic zone that is set up in part one. The second element takes you back to the genesis of the idea of the 50s. So like there's an idea of this like retro futurism. In that movement, we were very, very intentional about not measuring time. So we don't have ticks in there. We don't have heartbeats. We don't have counting, because I think for me, the show actually starts in the second movement. And I think what's interesting from a sound design standpoint, there is only one sample, and it's in the very beginning, and it leads into the keyboard material, and it kind of takes you from the Tigran zone, and it takes you into the completely unadulterated, unprocessed music of the 50s. After that first sample, there's supportive elements in the synth, obviously for the winds, and pianos, like when we get into Latin stuff and having montuno rhythms. But it's very intentional about not writing anything. And that, as a sound designer, can feel weird to not do anything. But sometimes not doing something is the right thing to do. So then when we get to the ballad, it's about kind of looking past after we've created this. And like there's an element of nostalgia about that period. Within that age, there's also a darkness to it. Ballad starts and there's like these very ethereal pad samples that sweep around the field and then bring in the French horn soloist. Like it's just very pure, very open. The Cerebralis original piece is just amazing. Just starts out with one voice, her voice, and goes on for quite some time before any other elements are included in it. That changes, and we incorporate the element of the counting through the Japanese children's choir. It's the first time it goes to like a minor mode. We get a change in feel and darkness that you kind of feel like the apprehension that was in that period after the genesis of the nuclear age. And you start to feel that. The Japanese children's counting is in the back speakers, and I think that that gives it depth, where you have the simplicity of the minor mode material that's going on in the front ensemble, paired with that, I don't want to say impending doom, but it's a sense of dread on some level. And I think that counting helps articulate that. So the ticking, the heartbeats, the counting, they represent time and space, and measuring time and space through these various eras that we're kind of exploring. That moment all comes together in the final moments of the show. There's a transition into the segment we call the Interstellar segment, obviously from Hans Zimmer's Interstellar music. And when trying to figure out how to go from a pretty over-the-top drum corps moment, big chords, loud chords, lots of rhythm, to the way I think about it is kind of the universe opening up. Like, it's really a big bang. Trying to get there, I was like, how can we incorporate all elements of this measure of time? So there's a little audio transition, I think, that works out phenomenally well. I'll go through a little bit of the elements that are here. So this transition that kind of gets us into the Interstellar moment at the end has a lot of different things that are going on within it. The first thing being, you kind of hear foundation to all of this, and that's going to slowly creep up through time. Just creates a nice solid bed to everything. You have elements of rise that create the tension over time. There's an arpeggiated element that happens here. There's another space element that happens in here. Kind of souling these as they happened. I call this the black hole, kind of getting sucked in at that moment. So this is really, in combination with an organ swell here, this is really kind of the foundation of just like the macro emotion, the growth from the beginning to the end of it. So I'll play that real quick. You can see it definitely ends with kind of a suck into space, the kind of referencing that black hole that I was mentioning with it. As far as the measures of time, we start by adding in these delayed bounces. They come in the backfield speakers first, and they go backfield, end zone, and then they kind of come up to the front of the field by the end. So I'll add in that layer, which is mimicking our heartbeat textures. So that element of delay and bounce really just, in my opinion, no pun intended, gets my heartbeat going throughout that. Now, a couple other elements that are in here. The Cerebrellis original and the nostalgia of that. I just love that. We included some of her lyrics. We incorporated the ticking. So I'm going to add in Cerebrellis and the ticking to kind of measure time. Now the ticking in the same way does have elements of reverb and delay to it. Once upon another time. So you can kind of feel that ticking. The ticking changes and alters. The delays get faster as it goes along. And in the end, the ticking is actually more of like a soundscape and less of a measure of time. Next element is the actual counting. That is just a start countdown from 5 all the way to 1. And you'll see at the end of the file here, when the sound sucks out, it should hopefully literally be nothing in Lucas Oil. And time for this suspense to hang. And then you hear 1. And then space opens up.
Five, 4, 3, 2,
So those are our three kind of measures of time that happen. That's pretty much it. There is one other element in here, the Interstellar quote. I just love the soundtrack to that movie, and the organ is iconic. Just the single line melody that happens in the organ, I think is, for a lot of people, puts them in a place. It's nowhere else in the show, but it's in here because I think like it's at the essence of what the actual Zimmer music is.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1.
That sound design moment kind of gets us to the culminating moment of the show. The Interstellar moment for me is all about kind of like space opening up, and you see that visually with the way we kind of open up the atoms on the field, and they're kind of exploding and coming out. I really just enjoy that music, and I think that we've created a really fantastic moment for drum corps. A couple elements that are going on within that moment. We really utilize like all speakers, all hands on deck for that. And one thing I think is interesting on the actual synth patch selection side, I've chosen synth patches that emulate the reverb of the horn line and not the dry send. And we have all of those coming from the backfield speakers. That backfield speaker material, it's interesting. It's actually played a beat ahead of the drum corps for all the delays and for everything to line up. So for the synth player, that's actually kind of a challenge to play a reduction of the wind material one beat ahead. Definitely something that's not intuitive. But that reverb being paired with the actual acoustic sound on the field creates just an open universe that is pretty wild. In addition, paired a huge cathedral organ and big choir sounds with this. So you hear this, and that eventually dissipates as the organ takes over. And there are lots of elements in Interstellar where the organ completely envelops the rest of the sonic landscape and takes that over, and we really kind of wanted to lean on that. We get to this diminished chord, and in the diminished chord, it's just such a crunch, and there's almost like another space rocket that takes you to a different dimension, going to the resolution of that. And then finally, we bring it home with a little bit of a heartbeat underneath that. I'm going to go back to the beginning of that transition, and then you can kind of hear the elements that kind of take this over the top.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So here the acoustic elements start to fade away, staging opens up, and the organ is taking everything over the top. Beautiful resolution, and then the heartbeats. This is an element of sound design that if you just listen to this Logic file, it absolutely in no way replicates what happens live. And I think that was a really important thing for me this year. I really started to rely less on the Logic files and the actual creation side of it, and take a listen to what is actually happening on the field and create that environment through the resources that are there. It's an interesting thing. You hear it and you're like, it doesn't sound, as glorious as I want. Then you get all 8 speakers out there in the drum corps. That's what it's about. So for me, it's always going to be electronics married with acoustics, and that's the beauty of it.